Hello, I'm Dr. Clorinda Forte-Katz. Thank you for joining me today and giving me some of your precious time. This recording is actually a re-recording of our first podcast. Since we recorded the first one, I've had opportunity to make this into a PowerPoint. Hopefully you'll be able to get more enjoyment out of this, and so we can also put this on our office YouTube channel. The chiropractor at Katz Family Chiropractic, and we're located in Wyomissing, Pennsylvania. So let's get this started. Our lecture today is Pain Hurts, but Stress Kills. So the question is, what is stress? We use that word quite a bit. I'm stressed. I have a lot of stress. But let's talk about what exactly is stress. Now, the term stress was first used in 1936 by Dr. Hans Selye. He wrote the book, The Stress of Life. And his definition was a non-specific response of the body to any demand of change. So the body needs to change for something. The body is going to have, at the time he thought, a non-specific response. Since 1936, we have learned quite a bit about the stress response. But this is the first time this term was ever used. Now, Merriam-Webster, its current definition of stress is a physical, chemical, or emotional factor that causes bodily or mental tension and may be a factor in disease causation. Now, I thought this was really interesting because the chiropractic term for a subluxation is a trauma toxin or thought that will cause the body to go out of alignment and cause the body to go into dis-ease. So Merriam-Webster sees stress as a physical, chemical, or emotional factor, chiropractic, trauma toxin, or thought. Same thing, both cause our body to go off balance, and if it's not corrected, the body will go into a disease or dis-ease state. So basically, stress is when your body's thrown out of balance. You know, we all walk that tightrope, and we're always trying to find balance in our lives. And when we can no longer find balance, we are thrown out of balance, and our body experiences stress, just like our little bird here in the picture. Now, something to keep in mind is some stress is necessary for our bodies to grow and to stimulate our nervous system. If we were to have absolutely no stress, we would die within minutes. Stress is important for our bodies to function to some degree. We need the stress of gravity so that we can stand upright. Trees need the stress of a high wind in order for the trunks to grow stronger. Plants in general need drought so their roots grow deeper. So there are things, our bones need to be under stress or under weight bearing so they grow stronger. So some stress is normal and is a normal process. The problem is when we have too much stress and then our body overstimulates or cannot handle the influx of incoming information. So our bodies cannot differentiate between good stress and bad stress. Stress is stress, whether you're getting married, in a traffic jam, or giving a lecture. Yes, I find this stressful sometimes. So it's the good or bad is what we assign to it. Now, ideally, our bodies were designed for about 3 stress responses a week max. Today, we average 50 stress responses a day. This is just insane. I mean, normally, for that 3 stress responses a week, we should be looking like that little guy on the left. But instead, with 50 stress responses a day, we look like that person on the right. You know, from the moment that alarm clock goes off, it is just one stress after another. And what happens is we just go nonstop, and we don't have a chance to get out of that stress response. So the stress response is also known as fight or flight, or the fight or flight response. And we're seeing that people are getting stuck in this stress survival syndrome, where it is just one thing after another, and we have no absolutely downtime on this. And it's taking a toll of our health, both as individuals and as society. So what exactly happens in a stress response or in the fight or flight response? Well, one of my favorite analogies is the jungle and the lion. So if we were living out in the jungle and we wake up and we're like, hey, let's go get something to eat, and we're out walking around looking for food, well, out of the bushes jumps this lion. Well, immediately at that moment, we will go into a stress response or a fight or flight response. So what exactly happens during that time? Well, during the stress response, our brain waves go faster, or we go into the beta brainwave. Well, our brain waves need to work fast so that we can figure out what we're going to do in that precious few moments to either defeat the lion or run for our lives. What also happens during a stress response is our heart rate increases. We need that fast heart rate in order to get blood flow and chemicals and nutrition to our body so we can react to the demands that our brain is telling us what to do. Our blood pressure goes up. With our blood pressure going up, it's going to channel all our blood to the center, to the central organs. What happens now is our hand and feet temperature will get cooler. Also, it lets blood flow going to the extremities. If we're cut in battle, we are not as likely to bleed out as quickly. Cortisol is a chemical that is released. Cortisol increases blood sugar and allows that high sugar in the blood to go to the muscles, that we need that for extra energy. Cholesterol goes up. Cholesterol makes our blood sticky. If in the event we are cut in battle, again, we're less likely to bleed out because we have the stickiness to our blood. It's going to be easier for us to form a clot. Adrenaline will go up. Adrenaline is a hormone that is responsible for increased energy production in our muscles. Oftentimes, you might hear a story of people who have these crazy amounts of strength during an emergency, like someone lifts their car off a child or something like that. That's the adrenaline that's giving those muscles extra strength for that emergency situation. Our neck and shoulder tension increase. Now, that's important because it's going to protect the spinal cord around the neck and head. And again, in the event we're hit in battle, we have extra protection with that increased shoulder protection. What goes down during the stress response is digestion, reproduction, immune system, hand and foot temperature. So if we're just trying to outrun a lion or trying to fight a lion, our body's not going to worry about digesting anything. Reproducing is the last thing on its mind. And the immune system in those few moments is not going to be an issue. And of course, hand and foot temperature go down because of the blood flow being channeled to the center of the body. So these are things that the body doesn't need at that moment. Now, in the instance of the lion, this basically is 3 minutes of screaming terror, and either you're done or the lion's done. And then all this reverses and the body goes into rest and digest. So now, when we cannot turn off the stress response, you're headed for disease. We discussed that we're having 50 stress responses a day, and we are constantly in that stress mode. And so these are some of the diseases we see in society today because of long-term stress. So we see increased heart rate and palpitations. We see breathing issues. We have people having increased breath, but it's not deep breath. So they're not doing that belly breathing that we really get the most out of our oxygen intake. And oftentimes we're using our shoulders to breathe because we're not doing that belly breathing. I see this quite a bit with my patients. We ask them to take a breath and those shoulders go up. It's definitely, we get into that habit. And then also with that shallow breath, think about anxiety attacks. You can't get a breath, you're feeling anxious, the neck and shoulders get tense, and it becomes this vicious cycle. Also, part of long-term stress, we see increased blood pressure. Another problem with long-term stress is increased blood sugars. Now, this will lead us to insulin resistance and diabetes, not just type 2, but type 1 as well. Long-term stress, think about all those hormones we were talking about in a few panels earlier. Long-term stress is going to have blood sugar issues. Long-term stress also causes a decrease in digestion, so we're going to start seeing digestive disorders such as heartburn, acid reflux, irritable bowel, and or constipation. Long-term stress causes low sex drive and erectile dysfunction. Again, our body is normally going to decrease this during a fight or flight response, but because we're stuck in that stress response, the body does not see this as a problem. It's trying to survive. Long-term stress causes decreased immune response. Now, we all know somebody who's always sick, and this is a person who definitely is having the issues of decreased immune response because of stress. There's always that someone in the office or a friend who, every time you turn around, they're sick with something. Long-term stress causes decreased hand and foot temperatures. How many times we see that our hands and feet are cold. This is part of a stress response, and when you learn proper relaxation skills, this does affect how you can warm up your hands and feet. Raynaud's is a good example of decreased hand and foot temperature caused by stress. Another issue we see with long-term stress is that you have sleep problems. Because we're dealing with high brain waves in beta, which is our wide awake brain, you cannot go into your deep levels of sleep, which are beta and delta. And so I have people tell me, I can't sleep because I can't turn my brain off, or I'll fall asleep, but then I wake up and my brain's going a mile a minute. That is long-term stress. As soon as our body is awake, it goes back into that high brain wave, and getting a good level of sleep is almost or nearly impossible. So March of 2015, Scientific American published a research article, and it showed that the brain actually detoxes in level 4 sleep, which is your deep sleep, the delta sleep. And they found people who don't go into the deep sleep levels have problems with memory and focus. So basically, you can't flush your toilet, and the toxins have to stay there, and it's just basically polluting your brain. The National Institute of Health says 90% of all doctor visits are because of stress. Now, to me, this is just crazy. If you go to your doctor's office and you look around, if there's 10 people there, 9 people out of the 10 there are there because of stress-related issues. To me, this was like, hey, we're doing something horribly wrong as a society. So we now have what's called the 21st century super stress syndrome. And this basically is all uptime, no downtime. We have 24-hour emails and texts, crowds, overstimulation, lights all hours of the night and day, and it's just nonstop. You've heard of the city that doesn't sleep. We've become the society that doesn't sleep. Now, the interesting thing is the brain does not understand the difference between a physical stress and a psychological stress. So psychological stress produces the same set of hormones and responses as running for your life. So whether you have a deadline for work that has to get done or a dog running after you, your body still sees that as fight or flight and will have the same response. Chronic stress kills brain cells. So it's going to make you, just have more mental problems. And it also unravels your DNA, which means it's going to make you age faster. Chronic stress is going to cause belly fat, and it's going to clog your arteries. Also shows that stress will shrink your hippocampus, which is part of the brain, and it affects your learning and memory. So people with long-term stress, again, is that learning and memory issue that you see, that we talked about with the level 4 sleep, is the toxins. So long-term stress is going to affect your brain. And what it comes down to is all stress is brain stress. The brain is where we live, and everything that affects us affects the brain. But the good news is healing starts in the mind, in the brain, with our innate intelligence. So we can heal it ourselves if taken the proper protocol. So here are some interesting brain facts. I love brains. Anyone who comes into the office knows how much I adore the brain. So it used to be thought that when we were born, we had all the brain cells we were ever going to have our whole life. And actually, that's a fallacy. A lot of the research now shows that we are capable of so much. So the brain is neuroplastic, which means it's capable of change. And we could change the brain in as little as 60 days. So in 2 months from now, if you start doing these things, you can have a whole brand new brain. Neurogenesis is the growth of nerves. And this continues throughout our lives, and outside factors either promote or retard nerve growth. So the key here is to do things that promote nerve cell growth, which are the same things that help you cope with stress. So good news on that front, isn't it? So by the time we're 50, we have replaced all the nerve cells at which we were born with. So you have a brand new brain at 50. I think maybe it's the body gearing you up for the second half of life. But we constantly produce these nerve cells. Now, while the brain is only 2% of our body weight, it uses anywhere from 20 to 30% of all the calories we take in. So the brain is high energy real estate. The very interesting thing is pain is only felt in the beta brainwave, which is our high frequency. So if you have someone who is stuck in this beta brainwave because of the stress response, we are consuming probably 30 to 40% of the calories. And because of the brain taking in so much energy, it's got to take it away from somewhere else. So oftentimes you see people who have chronic pain complain they're always tired. They're always tired because the body is taking energy from other parts of the body, and also they're not going into good levels of sleep. And so you have this constant, again, the cycle goes on and on. So the key here is to get the body or the brain out of the high frequency brainwave into the lower frequency. So how do we do this? Fortunately, there are ways. The first thing we need to understand is life is a stress response. That's pretty much what it is, but we get to decide how to respond. So by doing some of these things that I'm laying out here, even if you just do one a week, you can come up with a healthier stress response. But the thing is, we get to decide how we're going to respond. There's some really good technology out there. Something that we have in our office, it's called the neuroaffinity. And it allows us to test the nervous system and how the body not only responds to stress, but how it recovers from stress. The test is called the stress response evaluation, and this is something we do in our office. This is the work of Dr. Richard Barwell, who's been doing 30 plus years of research in this area, and it's pretty fascinating. Oftentimes we see somebody who tell us, oh, we're not that stressed, but you see the stress responses are just crazy. So this is a way we can actually measure the body and its response to stress. The latest research coming out in the last few years by Dr. Heidi Havoc shows that the chiropractic adjustment reboots and rebalances the brain. And it shows that a chiropractic adjustment will increase your brain function by as much as 60%. So to me, as a chiropractor, I found this so incredibly exciting. I know I always felt better and thought better and slept better after an adjustment. And what I felt is now showing up in the research that we are actually changing the way the brain functions with chiropractic. So the first thing to do is to get regular chiropractic adjustments. It's not just for making your body feel better, it's for making your brain feel better. Some other things to do to help your brain is to surround yourself with positive people. When you're with happy people, you have no choice but to be happy as well. Replace your fear with faith. Now, I like this, faith makes all things possible, not easy. Again, you know, when we tune into our faith, it makes handling things a little easier. A lot of the research has shown people who pray on a regular basis tend to be overall healthier. Live in the moment. This is something so important. We often worry about what tomorrow is going to bring. It's not here yet. 70% of what you worry about doesn't happen. You fret over what happened yesterday, and that's history that's gone. We can't go back. We can learn from it, but we can't go back and change it. The only thing we have is this moment is right now. So learning to live in the moment. And it's difficult in the beginning. I have to admit, I've been there. But you kind of retrain yourself. Again, it takes the brain about 60 days to learn something. Learning to live in the moment is so important because now you're focused. A really good book I can recommend is by Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, and it really helps you learn to live in the moment and to be present. Something else we can do to have a healthier stress response is to stop comparing yourself with others. One of the things I always taught my children while they were growing up is there's always going to be people better and lesser than you. The only person you have to be better than is the person you were yesterday, and it's by improving yourself. So, you know, you have to just kind of take things a little bit lightly and just work on making yourself better and forget about what other people are doing. This one, loving and forgive yourself. This is so important. You know, we all mess up, but we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves. I have a friend who's a counselor He always says when something goes wrong is no one threw up, no one passed out, and no one died. So if none of those things happened, then you can kind of move on and just deal with it and let it go. And loving yourself and saying loving things to you. How many times, if we had someone talk to us the way we sometimes talk to ourselves, we would never talk to that person again. So why do we do that to ourselves? We need to be more loving and more gentle with our hearts, and that actually helps you. Kind of helps to have to get a little bit of a sense of humor with yourself as well. Expressing gratitude whenever possible. Again, the research shows that when you're grateful and thankful, you tend to have a better outlook on life, and you tend to be overall healthier. Now, it's very interesting that you can't be angry and grateful at the same time. I mean, seriously, try it. So be thankful. Be thankful for experiences and for lessons learned and for the things we have. Unplug. Wow. Whether it's, you should try to unplug for at least an hour every day, preferably before bedtime. A lot of that artificial light from our electronics stimulates the brain to stay awake. Whether it's the TV, whether it's the emails, Facebook, you're going to go crazy if you don't let go of this stuff. I find for myself, an hour before bed, I put on some nice soothing music and sit and read, have some dim lights to get my body into, hey, we're going to go into rest now. If you could unplug for one day a week, even better. It helps recharge you and refresh you. I check my emails Sunday morning, and then the rest of the day I don't look at them until I go into work the next day. If I'm online for any reason, it's probably just to do something a little bit more important that needs my attention. But again, for the most part, learning to unplug, it's so, so important to do that. Needed to commit to regular exercise. We're meant for movement. Our bodies are made for movement. So getting, everyone thinks exercise is going to the gym or running. It's not. It's just getting up and moving. People who sit all day, if you drink enough water, you're forcing yourself to get up once an hour to go to the bathroom. It's movement. My grandmother, in her later years, didn't move a bunch, but she would watch TV. So I would have her stand up during commercials and just walk in place during the commercial, whether it's 30 seconds. And as you want to challenge yourself more, learn to walk in place during the whole time the commercial is on. It's regular movement, and it helps get the body move and help you diffuse some of that extra energy from stress. So dancing, do something. Exercise should be something that makes you happy, whether it's yoga or dancing or going for walks, going for a hike. If you like going to the gym and doing that, that's great. But the thing is, we're meant to move. Posture is important. Stand taller, sit taller. A lot of the research, again, has shown that poor posture affects your mood. And I remember cartoons when we were growing up, the bad guys always had these horrible postures. Maybe that's why they were the bad guys, because they didn't stand up straight. But when you sit taller and stand taller, it's better blood flow, better oxygen intake, and again, your brain feels much, much better. Meditate. Meditation has been shown to help people handle stress. The beauty of meditation is it gets you out of beta and brings you into that alpha and theta stage, which is the lower, shifting the brain into neutral. Your body learns to have a healthier stress response. Now, meditation is somewhat tricky, especially in the beginning. Oftentimes, my patients tell me that they can't meditate because they can't turn off their minds. And so you kind of have your mind full of things like his work and children and bills, or you can be mindful and just be in the present. And I think that the reason animals are just so happy is because all they have is now. They don't worry about tomorrow and yesterday and what has to be done. And so when you look at this picture and you see, well, who do you think is the happier person? Learning to be present and learning to just empty your mind. But again, it is difficult, and sometimes, even myself, I have trouble with meditation and turning off my mind. But again, fortunately, we have technology to the rescue. Now, there's a product called the Brain Tap, and it's invented by Dr. Patrick Porter. And what this does is it actually helps you with the meditation process. It uses light and sound, and it takes your brain through all the wavelengths, almost like we're exercising your brain. And it helps you sleep better, helps you develop a healthier stress response. What I love is after one of these brain tap sessions, I just feel like I have much more energy and much more focused. So if you're having a problem that you can't meditate, I definitely would say try to experience this brain tap. Now, we do have this in my office. If you would like to experience it, you're more than welcome to contact me. If we can have you come on in and have a demo at no cost. But again, if you can't meditate, this is basically meditation done for you. So I hope you found some tools that you can use with this lecture. Thank you so much for your time, for listening. Time is the most precious gift we have, and I'm so thankful that you did spend some of that time with me. Again, my name is Dr. Clorinda Forte Katz over at Katz Family Chiropractic. If you'd like to get a hold of me, you can contact me through Facebook at Katz Family Chiropractic. Well, thank you so much for your time. Please go out, be awesome, and have an amazing day. Thank you.